This show is brought to you in part by viewers like you who joined a Patreon or become YouTube members. Thank you. And if you could, hit the like button and subscribe if you want more Browns-focused content.
Hey, what's up, and welcome to Hot Takes, the show where I take your comments on from the videos of the week and react to them. It's a more interactive kind of way of getting in touch with what people who are watching the videos and commenting are feeling, and trying to have a more nuanced conversation about these topics than kind of sometimes text on the internet allows. We're going to start with AC, who says this under one of my videos. We dismiss Kevin Stefanski's two-time Coach of the Year awards, but we give Barry slack because of one good draft class. They both stay or they both go. The math got to be the same for both. Well, one, I don't dismiss Kevin Stefanski's two-time Coach of the Year awards. I think that is a great accomplishment. 2 11-win seasons with the Cleveland Browns. Those are also accomplishments that go under Andrew Berry as well, right? Building out the 2020 offensive line that got the Browns to that point. In 2019, they were a terrible offensive line. Andrew Berry and Kevin Stefanski get here, retool the offensive line. It becomes the power unit behind how the Browns get to 11 wins in 2020. 2023 is fueled behind a great defense that Andrew Berry helped bring in. And Jim Schwartz, who was also hired by Andrew Berry. So, there's no accomplishment that Kevin Stefanski has that Andrew Berry doesn't have fingerprints on. That's kind of the nature of this whole thing here, right? So, yeah, I think the two-time Coach of the Year stuff, that does matter for Kevin, but also what matters for Kevin is what has happened in the last 2 seasons. And when you look at the last 2 seasons of work, Andrew Berry's body of work has been good. Kevin Stefanski's body of work has been bad. And it's not just one good draft for Andrew Berry, right? Even though just calling the 2025 draft good is silly. It's the best draft class in the NFL so far of that year, right? So it's not just a good draft class, it's a great draft class, might even be a foundational draft class for the Cleveland Browns. We're talking about 2 guys in that class you can make an argument could be all pros in their rookie years. So definitely not just a good draft class. You can get just a good player here or there. But also the 2024 draft class is good. The 2023 draft class, especially when you account for the undrafted free agents in that class, is pretty strong. The last 3 years of work for Andrew Berry, being able to retain Myles Garrett, being able to still manage to have some money for free agents, despite the fact that we're paying off this Deshaun Watson, how they've managed the Deshaun Watson contract to make sure that they still have money in free agency over all of these years. You just look at the body of work for Andrew Berry over the last couple of years. He's not the guy you're wondering if he's still good at his job. You look at Kevin Stefanski and you have those questions about Kevin, because all the things that made you be excited about him being the Coach of the Year in 2023, in 2020, you're not seeing in 2024, in 2025. Whereas with Andrew Berry, the stuff that you got nervous about with him in 2021 and 2022, that was his draft history, right? His pro personnel stuff has always been pretty solid, but his draft stuff was a little shaky early on, especially when you consider Jed Wills in 2020. But you look at everything from 2023 on, it's the drafts got better. The pro personnel stuff stayed good. The trades stayed pretty good. Why would I want to fire Andrew Berry just because I want to fire Kevin Stefanski when Kevin's work over the last 2 years justifies it and Andrew Berry's doesn't? We got Myles Garrett under market value right now because of Andrew Berry. We got Myles Garrett on the team right now because Andrew Berry didn't fold in negotiations with Miles. Again, this guy's been a good GM. Like over the last couple of years, you can maybe be disappointed with what the quality of the roster is right now, but they've told you that the plan for this season wasn't to maximize the amount of wins this roster could get, but was to maximize the development of the roster. And you're seeing the development of the roster and the young talent take its place. So like if we're evaluating Andrew Berry's job, to me, I think he's done a good job over the last couple of years. If I'm evaluating Kevin Stefanski's job, and again, it's not like, oh, do I think he's rah-rah enough in the locker room? It's more or less, hey, how is the offense evolving over the last few years? How is the run game evolving over the last few years? And those things have not evolved. They've actually regressed. Seems pretty clear to me. Like, yes, Kevin's a two-time coach of the year. And look, because Kevin's a two-time coach of the year, he's gotten away with the run game being stale for 3 years. Because Kevin's a two-time coach of the year, he's gotten away with the offense not evolving over the last couple of years, right? Like we've given Kevin a lot of slack over the last couple of years because he was a two-time coach of the year. But at some point, you got to demonstrate that you're still the guy who got the accolade and that you're doing a good job right now. And I think that's the biggest argument against Kevin. And ironically enough, it's the biggest argument for Andrew Berry. Again, look at the last 3 years of work. Andrew's gone one way, Kevin's gone another. Makes it pretty self-explanatory to me. I think if you do the same math on both, you end up with different answers. Like, that's the truth there. Scott M says this: I don't see them firing Kevin, a two-time coach of the year, guys, out of their coaching. He's out there coaching the B team. Give him his QB1 and halfway decent O-line and maybe a wide receiver, and he'll be fine. I will say this. If you give Kevin a great offense, Kevin will be able to give you a good offense, right? If you give him a great roster on offense, he'll give you a good offense. But will you still, if the offense struggles or if the offense feels underwhelming, will the first person you be looking for to get rid of be Kevin? Because I think for a lot of people, that's going to be the answer. I think for the Browns, that's going to be the answer. And if you don't think Kevin can elevate the offense or at least get the offense, maximize what the offense can do based on its talent level, then I think that's a bigger problem, right? Can Kevin babysit a good offense? Sure. If you put everything there for Kevin, Kevin can babysit it, right? Nobody's denying that. But is that what Kevin was hired here to do? Is that what Kevin won Coach of the Year for doing, was babysitting? That's not how he got those awards or those accolades. He got those awards and accolades by being an elevator, by maximizing the talent that they have on the roster. And he has not demonstrated that he's capable of doing that, even at a smaller scale. Again, I had no anticipation of the Cleveland Browns offense being good in any statistical category this year. My only hope was that we would avoid being the bottom. I had literal mediocre hopes for this offense. You don't know what mediocre means. It's not the bottom. It's not necessarily the middle. It's just below the middle, right? That's what I was hoping for. Mediocre, right? We couldn't get to mediocre. I think that this roster is mediocre, which means what the Browns have put out here, which is just terrible, is underperforming what the roster is. I don't think the team should have been this bad at offense all year. I really just don't think that's what the roster level was. Should they have been good? No. But should they have been better than this? Yes. And I think that's the problem that Kevin has. He's here not because he can babysit, not because we think he can be Marvin Lewis, but because we think that he could be Andy Reid. That's the name that they use for Kevin Stefanski. Can he be Andy Reid? That's the bar for Kevin. It's a high bar, but this is where they set it. Right now, what we're talking about is, let's just let Kevin be Marvin Lewis. Let's just be underwhelmed with our offenses every year, but not bad. Let's have some great players on offense and get a little bit out of them. I don't think that's an acceptable result for a team that hopes to win a championship. At some point, I don't want that to be where the bar ends up being for the Browns. Is, let's just be Marvin Lewis. I just think that's a very dangerous place to stay at. Topo says this: I think Barry taking chances on questionable character guys has more to do with the lack of picks and just trying to get talent to help the team any way he could. I honestly think once he's able to rebuild the team with pillar players at a certain position, that goes away. That is an interesting theory, right? That maybe Andrew was just value shopping. And when you're value shopping, right? When you're shopping at Ross, when you're shopping at Marshalls for football players, there's going to be a couple of extra things that come attached with trying to get something that fits what you're trying to go with, right? And maybe that's why he brought in so many people with just kind of some problematic things around them. I could understand that being the case. I would be interested to know what those 6th and 7th and 5th round picks look like for Andrew Berry. I personally think that this is just part of him being a bit of a risk taker and a value seeker, is that he's willing to take risk if it comes with value. I think the Shedeur Sanders selection this year is a perfect example of this, right? It's not necessarily somebody who is going to be a problem as a personality for your team, but who is going to bring apart a certain issue for like the media landscape around the team. And he still willingly went after Shedeur after they had already drafted a quarterback. And I think that's because Andrew Berry is a gambler. He's a risk taker at times, right? He likes to take some risk, and he likes to take risk in pursuit of value, especially at the quarterback position. So while I think that some of the more shameless bits of his value seeking when it comes to risk of reputation, as far as like players having bad reputations and still going after them, yeah, I do think some of that goes away, like the Kadarius Tonys of the world don't probably get brought up here. But again, keep in mind who Andrew Berry quotes as his influences. He came up in the Indiana system, not the Indiana, but the Irsay system. And then he did a lot of time with Philadelphia, with Andy Reid. He is familiar with Howie Roseman. He talks about Andy Reid as a big influence on him. Those are all people who are willing to take some risk when it comes to character. So I don't know if this goes away. I think this is part of the Andrew Berry DNA. Now, is he as gung-ho about it as like a John Dorsey, where John Dorsey would be out here spending like 2nd and 3rd round picks on people with character concerns? No, I don't think he's John Dorsey level cowboy with it. But, I think this is kind of still part of the Andrew Berry DNA, where if the value's high enough, he gonna take the risk regardless of what that roster looked like. I think that's just part of Andrew Berryism, right? For better or worse. That's just kind of part of the thing with Andrew Berry. But we're going to continue. But first, I got to thank my sponsor, Sleeper. Real quick, just want to let you guys know Sleeper has a new offer here. They're offering a free $20 entry, no deposit required. And also, if you're a first-time user, you also will receive a 100% match on up to $100 when you use the promo code Worst Take. Again, $20 free, no deposit required. Plus, first-time users also receive 100% deposit match up to $100. Join Sleeper. All right, the next hot take is from Plan Insur, who says, My patience is wearing thin with Schwartz. His scheme lacks and what his subtlety and his defense is delivered less than the sum of his parts. Okay, no, that's just, you look at the EPA numbers and the Browns defense is delivered the sum of their parts. Here's the problem that I think people have with the Browns defense. I'm gonna be real with you. The reason the Browns defense bothers you is because the Browns rely on their defense entirely too much. If the Browns had a normal offense that could routinely score 20 points, you wouldn't be as furious at the defense all the time, right? Like, the thing about Jim Schwartz is he's never had a regular offense while he's been in Cleveland. So, like, yeah, we're getting mad at the defense for giving up 23 points, but it's like normal teams can win games when their defense gives up 23 points, right? Like, it's not a deal breaker. The problem is that the Browns don't have an offense. Like, the Browns defense has normal ups and downs that a normal team can deal with. It's just that for the Browns to win games while Jim Schwartz has been here, the defense hasn't just had to be good every game. It's had to be elite. And no defense is going to be elite for 17 games in a row, which means the second there's a little bit of a let up from the defense, and instead of giving up 10 points a game, they're giving up 17 or 23. That means that our perception of the defense gets much worse, when the reality is we need to score more points anyways. So if the Browns had a regular offense, I don't think we even have these issues. I think Jim Schwartz is a fine defensive coordinator. You can win a championship with him. That's happened before. And you can win a championship with him on a defensive-oriented team. That's happened before. The thing is that the Browns just don't have an offense that can make you ignore when the defense has a little bit of an off day. And because that's not the case, a lot of attention gets focused on the defense, but 9 times out of 10, the defense does its job. Last week's a perfect example. Yeah, they gave up all those rushing yards at the beginning of the game versus Buffalo, but then the entire second half, the Browns had multiple opportunities to win that game, but the offense couldn't capitalize, right? They turned the ball over 2 times instead of putting the game away. It's not on the defense that the Browns lost against the Buffalo Bills. It's entirely on the Browns' inability to score, because 23 points is not an insurmountable amount of points. It just feels insurmountable because we've been watching the Cleveland Browns offense the last couple of years. So, now I disagree with that. I think we're lower on Schwartz because our offenses has forced us to be lower on Schwartz, but I don't think it's fair that we're lower on Schwartz, because realistically, the offense should be much better. And if the offense were better, we'd probably be really happy with Jim Schwartz, because we kind of understand what this defense would be capable of with a normal range of offensive play. Expensive Freedom says, I like the idea of Shedeur being a bridge quarterback. Give him an off season to think and improve his game, then go into next season with him as the bridge quarterback. If he balls out, great. If he hasn't improved much, you switch when the rookie is ready to play. Dylan, either way, you switch when the rookie is ready to play. Either way, we already have our bridge guy. So this is the Drew Brees, Phillip Rivers model, basically, right? So if you don't know, the Chargers had Drew Brees. They drafted him in the second round. And then a couple years later, they went after Phillip Rivers when they had a top pick in the first round. You imagine that, a team having a top pick and just saying, hey, we're going to take a quarterback. I know some people feel like that's just like the most foreign concept of all time, but the Chargers did this when they were in San Diego. They took Phillip Rivers, right? Now, I believe Phillip Rivers doesn't end up playing his first 2 seasons almost, while, Drew Brees holds it down at the quarterback position. And that's certainly a way to go. Now, it's worth mentioning that example is like 20 years old. The league has changed a lot since then. How people follow the league has changed a lot. People's expectations for young quarterbacks has most certainly changed a lot, right? Back then, it was kind of understood that quarterbacks needed to sit for a while. Now, because people see CJ Stroud and Jaden Daniels get off the hot starts, people going to want to see that rookie if you draft them early. So would it be a nice idea, Shedeur as the bridge quarterback? I would agree with that. I think in a perfect world, that would be what you would want to do. Is it feasible? I don't know, because what if, you draft a Dante Moore and you think you're going to have Dante Moore sit, but then it's clear that Dante Moore is much better, like already, than wherever Shedeur is at. Then the bridge idea is already cooked, right? You're going to just play Dante Moore at that point. So there's a lot of variables that can really derail that plan, and that's usually what happens to any bridge quarterback plan. Go look at the Tyrod Taylor, Baker Mayfield bridge quarterback plan that they had, right? Where they were going to bring in Tyrod and he was going to start for the year, then Baker would start after that. And that didn't end up happening. So yeah, that's my only thing about a bridge quarterback plan is usually those things, it's that old saying, you make plans, God laughs, so that's really kind of where I'm left with that. We got a couple of Shedeur hot takes up next. Michael Serkey says, no matter the opinion on Shedeur, 7 games is not an adequate sample size. If you have a high grade on a QB that's there, you take him. And then you have to have more QB assets. Yeah, it's the way I think about it too. It's just what you got to do, right? You got to give yourself in the organization the best chance to solve the quarterback problem is possible. And sometimes that can mean putting all the assets behind somebody you've already committed to. Sometimes that means putting all the assets behind somebody who showed promise. And sometimes that means not putting all your assets behind one basket. For me, it's like, yeah, you can like Shedeur and you can like what he's done, but you don't know enough to be sure. And if you're the Browns, you really got to be sure. So if you're not sure, you should go and take the quarterback, especially if you like the quarterback prospects coming out. Because what you don't want to do is add one of these quarterbacks to the long list of guys that we think we should have drafted, right? I don't want to see another name added to that list of, oh man, what if we would have drafted Lamar? What if we would have drafted Josh Allen? What if we would have drafted Ben Roethlisberger, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Garreau says he still has, he's talking about Sanders. He still has a tendency to play hero ball. The next part of his game development I want to see him be able to throw it away when the play isn't there and live to play another down instead of having to heaving it up for a prayer, hoping the right jersey comes down with it. Yeah, I would say this is my biggest pet peeve with how Sanders has played. That's been pretty consistent throughout his 7 games or 6 games as a Cleveland Browns quarterback. There are times where I just question his situational awareness. Like it could be big stuff. It could be small stuff. Like there are times where he gets a first down and then he runs for like 10, 15 yards to do like a celebration. And then like has to sprint back to the huddle to get the play call in. And it's like, I just need you not to do that at this level. Like you could get the celebration in after you score a touchdown or whatever. If you got a first down celebration, do the first down and get back to the huddle. But it just feels like there's a lot there that's just not situationally aware, or that he's like fully focused on what's going to be best to win the game and more like focused on what he personally wants to get out the game, which can be frustrating at times because there are times where he just doesn't give up on down and distances in game situations where it's like it makes no sense to not just throw this out of bounds, but he's trying to make something happen and the reason behind it just makes no sense. But that's it. Y'all have a great day. Have an even better night. Peace.